You have 50 questions. Out of the 50 questions, you might find that stress-related question, there are 8 or 10. Motivation, again, you might find that there are 8, 10, which is 20, which is out of 50, meaning you're left with 30-something questions based on the other units. And stress and motivation, they form a key part of your studies. Stress, they forms key part of your field. When you study psychology, most of the people that come to counseling, they're experiencing stress. You need to study about stress. Whether it's marriage related, there's stress involved. Whether studies related, there is stress involved. So stress forms the core part. Yes, most of the questions you'll find are stress related. So let's continue. The concept of stress. What is your understanding of the term stress? What's your understanding of the term stress? So without wasting of time, stress is a feeling. Stress is a feeling we experience when things are getting too much. In other words, stress is an emotional response to circumstances and event that threatens us and challenging our coping capabilities. In other words, stress is an emotional response to circumstances and events that threaten us and challenge our coping abilities. Why do they say emotional response to circumstances? Stress is caused by what? By stimuli, whether it's stimuli from outside or inside. Stimuli from outside could be exams, could be your financial challenges, could be a person causing you stress. That's a stimuli. A stimuli from the outside. Then there are stimuli from inside. Remember, stimuli is anything that triggers your behavior, anything that triggers your senses. Internally, could be that when you experience headache, when you feel like there's something in your tummy that is not well, when you experience pain, that causes emotional response, a feeling, an overwhelming feeling. That is, a stress is an emotional response to circumstances and events that threatens and challenging our coping mechanism. Then each is a physiological response, to physical and psychological demands, as known as stressors. You see, it's a physiological response because stress is internal. It's something that you feel inside. Your feelings, things that are inside. It's a physiological response. What do they mean by physiological as well? When you experience stress, certain things happen in your body. Like your blood pressure goes high, breathing rate, the response, your blood movements changes. Those are physiological changes, physiological responses to stress, to physical and psychological demands. So physical demands as well as psychological demands known as stressors. So anything that stresses you, we call it stressor. If your exams are stressing you, that is a stressor. If your husband is stressing you, he is a stressor. If your car having some problem that affects you emotionally, meaning your car is a stressor. So stressors have to do with physical as well as psychological demands. Physical as well as psychological demands. A feeling we experience when things are getting too much. In other words, stress is an emotional response to circumstances. So these circumstances cause stress and events cause stress. So it depends whether they threaten us or challenging us. For instance, you've registered for this course because you like to better yourself. You like to become a psychologist in social work. Now and again, you have to study. You have to make sure that you submit your assignment. That is a challenging circumstance, challenging stress, because it's something that you want to achieve is something that encourages you to achieve. When something is challenging, something that is challenging. When you say something is challenging, something that encourages you to achieve something. When it threatens you, most of the time, are things that are beyond your control, like financial difficulties, your car goes stuck, you need to call a tow truck. Things that are beyond your control. When you are unemployed, you are looking for employment, but it's difficult to get it. South Africa is currently experiencing political climate, poor political climate, recession, people are losing their job. I think that threatens you because they are beyond your power. If they say they retrench you now, they retrench you. Things that are beyond your control. So those are things that threatens you because you don't have control over them. That's stress. So for you to understand stress, the overall definition of stress, you need to go through the 3 sessions. If you check in your study notes, you have the effects of stress, the process of stress, as well as physiological stress. The effect of stress, the process of stress, and psychophysiological of stress. The effects. What are the effects? The effects of stress. How can stress affect you? How can stress affect you? That is, stress affect the relationship between performance and stress. Can affect your level of performance. Whether in your place academically or in real life, stress affects your coping abilities, performance-wise. Stress can also affect what? Your health. Stress can also affect your health. How can stress affect your performance? Let's move to the next slide. That is the relationship between stress and performance. The relationship between stress and performance by the theorist Yang-Johnson's law. If you check your notes, you'll find this theory, Yang-Johnson's law. Yang-Johnson's law says there is a pattern in which people are affected by stress. There's a pattern in which people are affected by stress. And this is the pattern. Steps. At moderate level, performance increase beyond normal level. Performance at high level of arousal. We have a true stress existing that is acceptable, abnormal, start to drop. Let's start with the moderate level. At moderate level, stress, number 1, is normal. You need to know that stress is normal. You can't live without experiencing stress. It's something that you live with. Anxiety is normal. Because you wake up in the morning, you want to go to work, you shower, you are running around the house to make things much easier. That is part of anxiety because you want to achieve something. You drive, you experience, you come across the traffic, it causes anxiety because you are late. It's something that is normal. We live with stress. However, the level of stress, you need to be stressed to a certain level because if you move beyond, you won't be able to cope. If you move beyond, you'll experience what? Depression. Yang-Johnson's law, at moderate level, there's a true stress, existing stress, and a stress that is acceptable. That's what they're trying to say to you. There's a stress that is normal. Stress that is normal, for instance, let's use examinations. Examination, you registered for your course in January, or some registered in June. You were given assignments, and you knew that you were writing your exams around October and November. During that instance, your stress is what is at moderate level. It's a true stress, it exists, is acceptable, that you are anxious. You want to pass your assignment, you want to register, you go through that process. You manage to submit your assignment in time. It's a stress that is moderate. You can manage. Then, level 2 comes exam time. let's assume that you are working and studying. Boom, come exams, they send you an examination timetable. The level of stress automatically increases because you are more anxious now. Comes November, you realize that I haven't studied enough from exam. You are registered for 5 modules. You discover, no, I haven't studied enough from exam. You start experiencing too much stress. They say this is where the stress increase beyond the normal level, particularly if you have not been studying. The level of stress increase tremendously because you have not been studying. This is a phase whereby students experience high level of stress to an extent that some they want to postpone the exam. Some they study, but you find that nothing goes into your head because they're anxious. You are too stressed. You are overwhelmed by your books. We call that an abnormal stress. An abnormal stress because you can't handle things now. The stress increased beyond the normal level. There's normal stress, which is this one. At moderate level is a normal stress whereby you can manage things. You are in control. This is a stress whereby if you didn't plan ahead in time, stress moves beyond the normal level. It's an abnormal stress. Your coping mechanism is challenged. Then at number 3, at high level of arousal, if you couldn't manage your stress here, if you can't manage your stress beyond the normal level, boom, you are at high level of arousal. Your level of concentration starts to drop. You're trying to study, you're trying to cope, you're trying to manage, but it's difficult to manage. End up not writing an exam, or you open an exam, you'll find that you experience brain freeze. Nothing comes from your mind, from your head. You are clueless while you studied. Brain freeze. They say your level of coping start to drop. We can use this again when people experience depression. It started moderate level. Perhaps they don't talk about their problems. You see their stress as normal. They move to abnormal level of stress. Once you experience depression and it is not treated, you are not talking to people, you're experiencing the problem alone, you don't open up, your level of coping starts to drop. That's when some people will die instantly due to heart attack. Some they experience what we call this stroke. Some they experience stroke because they had a high level of stress. That is, it's difficult to control, especially even people who are around you, they don't know. If you don't consult, seek for help, level of stress start to drop, depression, some they commit suicide. Meaning they're at a high level of arousal, their level of coping start to drop instead, their performance start to drop. Then they say there are factors that play a role in this relationship. In this relationship, there are factors that play a role. We have complexity, novelty, and simple. Complexity could be challenges or situations that are so hard to achieve. They are so difficult to achieve. It's hard to manage them. Factors that play a role in this relationship: complexity. Things that are hard to achieve. Most people, if something is difficult to achieve, you tend to give up. It tends to stress you. to some when something is complex, it depends. There are situations that are difficult, there are situations that are challenges you. You are trying to solve a mathematics problem, it challenges you. You'll be motivated to do more in order to achieve you, because it challenges you. It's something that is achievable. You can achieve it. Then there are difficult situations that is hard for you to achieve them. It might be hard because you don't share those things with other people. It might be hard because you try to find help, but you can't. Yes, some people ended up committing suicide. Some they just failed dismally, but some they'll go all out to achieve it. That is complexity. These are the factors that determine the relationship. Whether the level of complexity, difficult, challenging, is at two level, existing level or acceptable level, abnormal. Then you have novelty task. Novelty task, they say people are motivated by things that are new. Novelty means unusual, new ways of doing things. People are motivated to do things that they are not familiar with. If something is unusual, something is new, we are encouraged to achieve it. Imagine going to a place, now and again you do something, or at home, you always sitting at home doing one thing. Now and again you need to move out. You need to do things that are different. When you go for a session, let's say marriage, love relationship counseling session, the therapist will normally tell you that do something different, because the more you do one thing over and over again, it becomes boring. The mind doesn't want the routine stuff. Regardless of your passion, now and again you need to come up with new ways of doing things. New ways of doing things. Hence, when I do my classes, I'll make sure that I involve you so that you can talk. However, if you don't talk, I'll continue, because I don't want to do things a routine. That's what they're saying here. When people do things in a novel way, experience novelty, unusual things, unusual way of doing things, new things, they are encouraged to achieve it. It's more easier to avoid stress. Performance level increases because it's something new. You upper your socks. You are stressless. Then there are simple tasks. Again, simple tasks, they are boring again. You'll find that people who want to do something that is simple does not challenge you. You do it now, you forgot, because it's not challenging, it's so simple. Natural individuals are looking for things that are challenging, things that are unusual. If it's a routine, chances the level of performance will drop because it bores you. That's what Jenkins-Johnson says there's a way in which people deal with stress. There's a pattern in which people deal with stress. This is a pattern. At moderate level, increase beyond normal level, at high level of arousal. True existing normal start to drop. Complex, novelty, and simple. Then now we move to the relationship between stress and performance. The relationship between stress and health, the relationship between stress and health. They say this doesn't mean that stress is a direct cause of death, but it certainly acts as a catalyst for it. This doesn't mean that stress may kill you. However, it acts as a catalyst. When someone dies from a certain disease, and that disease may perhaps has been caused by what? Too much stress. In the post-mortem or in the death certificate, they won't say a person died of stress. There's no such. Or in the doctors, they may not say, oh, this person has died of stress, because stress is not a direct cause of the illness or direct cause of what? Of death. However, stress acts as a catalyst to the current disease. If you're experiencing current disease. Let's assume that someone is experiencing diabetes, someone has a heart problem, someone has BP, high blood pressure, someone has cancer. Now and again, we are advised to stop stressing because your stress makes the situation worse. That's what they mean. They say stress does not mean that the relationship between stress and health. This does not mean that stress is a direct cause of death, but it acts as a catalyst. It makes the situation to be worse. That is chronic stress, not a normal stress. We are referring here to chronic and repeated stress over the period of 2 years, over the period of months. You are stressed, one particular thing, intense stress. It end up affecting your body. Your body, that is psychosomatic diseases. The psychosomatic disease, any disease that related to your physical aspect internally. Then you have what? Response specificity. Okay, let's move further. We'll explain this. We have instantly. Let me check something. Okay, let's explain this before we move on. They say chronic stress, repeated stress may cause illness. Somatic disease is are part of the disease that people normally experience. With diabetes, hypertension, cancer, they may drain any disease that is affecting the person. If we have a prolonged stress, if you have things that are challenging emotionally, stress becomes worse. Then you have a response specificity. Response specificity are places on your body, whether externally or internally, when you are stressed, it's a stress indicator. One might say, when I'm stressed, I experience cramps in my stomach. One might say, when I'm stressed, my left-hand side becomes painful or uncomfortable. Someone might say, when I'm stressed too much, I experience headache. Some will say, I experience tension at the back of my neck. That is your response specificity. You experience stress in certain part of your body. That's when you know that I'm experiencing too much stress. That is why when you don't treat it, when you don't treat your stress, whether seeking help, solutions, you might experience what? Stroke in the end. You'll experience stroke in your stress response specificity. When normally when you experience stress in your left-hand side most of the time, meaning that's a vulnerable part. Even when you experience stroke, or even when your stress goes further, your left-hand side will be affected. That's what they're trying to explain. When you experience stroke on your neck, when you don't treat it, you'll have a big neck problems entire life. That is chronic stress that you experience in a long period of time. Psychosomatic disease are a disease that might be easily influenced by stress, any form of disease. Response specificity, where actually you experience stress, the part of the body where you experience what? Stress. Moving on, the process of stress. The process, how does stress take place, is a process. We have the theories by Jensen-Seeley. Jensen-Seeley, theories from general adaptive syndrome known as GAS. In short, it's GAS, general adaptation syndrome. So whatever that I'm explaining here, you'll find, study units. This is just a summary. Remember, you can't pass your exam just by focusing on the slides. You need to focus on this slide as well as your study units provided by the lecturer. Just suggests that there is a pattern in a way in which people react to stress, regardless of the nature of stress. There's a pattern, step 1, step 2. When you experience stress, there are patterns, step 1, step number 2, number 3. Number 1 is alarming phase. These are the 3 phases on how people experience stress. We have alarm and mobilization phase, resistance phase, and exhaustion phase. Number 1, alarm phase is whereby you first encounter of stress. It's the first encounter of what? Of stress. It's a stage whereby you realize that something is affecting you. You encounter stress. That could be, I normally use this example, that when you come across a danger, you are walking the street, two men are approaching you with knives and guns, intending to rob you. That's a first sign, a first phase. That is alarming and mobilization phase. It's the first encounter stress, to become aware of the stress. That these people are coming from me, meaning you have realized, you have made up your mind that they are coming to rob me. That's the first phase. It's alarming. Then they say alarm. Alarm wakes you up. Alarm, you become aware that is in the morning, I need to go to work. Alarming is the first stage where you encounter danger. It's the first stage where you identify, you are aware of the danger. Then resistant phase. The resistant phase is, how can I manage this stress? How can this stress be managed? You decide within yourself, how can I manage this? That is resistance. You're trying to come up with solutions. How can I solve this? You come up with solutions. If you fail to come up with solutions, instantly you go to exhaustion phase. Exhaustion phase. Exhaustion phase is a stage whereby you can't make use of any solution. You fail to solve the problem. Your level of coping mechanism drops. Let's use another example. You are walking in the streets, you see a snake. First thing that comes into your mind, snakes are dangerous. Snakes are dangerous. You see danger. That is you see danger. Secondly, resistant phase. The resistant phase is, you think. For a person who don't know about the snakes, you get threatened, your level of coping will be low. You experience high anxiety, stress, blood pressure high, heart rate will go high. But the person who's familiar with snakes, remember, there are snakes that are dangerous, there are snakes that are not dangerous. There are snakes that move fast, there are snakes that spit poison, there are snakes that, in order for them to bite you, they need to confront you. They need to come towards you in order to bite you. So for a person who's familiar with snakes, the level of managing the anxiety will be at moderate level, because snakes differ. It will be easy to detect, no, this is not a dangerous snake. This is a form of a snake, I need just to look back and move away from it. If it's a spitting snake, make sure that you wear glasses, or you prevent your eyes from getting that, from being attached to the poison. Meaning your level of coping will be much better compared to the person who don't know anything about snakes. There are snakes that they don't bite at all. You just need to move, or you can even touch it and throw it away. Pick it up and throw it away. Meaning that the level of managing stress differs from one person to the next. Same applies to exam. As soon as you experience anxiety towards exam, your level of coping differ. Some will seek a tutor to teach him or her. Some will exchange the timetable. Some will get a leave. Whereas some will just get stressed. Won't think of a leave, won't think of a tutor, instead will focus and say, no, I will pass it. Our level of coping differ. That is resistant phase. We're trying to come up with strategy, solution on how to solve the situation. Exhaustion phase is whereby you don't have an appropriate solution for the problem, and suddenly your level of coping drops instantly. Once your level of coping drops instantly, there's nothing you can do. Either you collapse, you faint, or you get yourself to danger, or run away. That's exhaustion phase. Moving on, the contextual model of stress. We have the contextual model of stress. 4 assumptions. They say stress, there's no universal meaning of stress. What might be affecting you might not affect me. Interpretation of stress differ from one person to the next. There's no universal meaning. If someone is stressed by something, you cannot come out and say, judge him or her. That this stress is manageable. Why are you so stressed? This is so manageable. It's difficult to say that because the way we experience stress is not universal. You might find some people are frightened by a crowd. They don't know what crowded places. However, you like crowd. And we assume that the person is attitude as ego because it doesn't like other people. It might be something different. Perhaps the person experienced something negative about the crowd. Past experiences might influence the way you interpret situations. What might stress you might not stress me. We are different due to the way we see things, the way our past experiences. Some women may hate men due to past experience, what happens to the woman. Some might be free to men. So you cannot judge one another and say, she's afraid because of this. We experience stress differently. There's no universal meaning. What might be good to you might be bad to me. What might be positive to you might be negative to another person. Number 2, communities share beliefs and meaning. Community shares belief and meaning in relation to stress. Each and every community, they experience stress differently. They share different things. You might find that in your location, in your community, the challenge that you are having is nyaope, or the high rate of crime. Whereas other communities, you might find that most of their challenge is load shedding. Some people experience load shedding, some they don't experience load shedding. Some they say there are there's high rate of what? Cable theft. Whereas some communities, they don't experience this. So community and community share different beliefs and meaning regarding stress. It depends from community to community. For someone who stays in Soweto compared to someone who stays in Tembisa or Kailisha, there are things that they must experience which are common. However, their levels of interpretation of stress differ from community to community, and their meaning differ from community and community to community. Then you have what? Positive and negative stress. There's a positive stress and negative stress. Negative stress mostly things that are difficult for you to achieve. Are things that are beyond your control. We can't control crime rate if the government is not doing much. What we need to do is to protect ourselves, meaning it is part of a difficulty in living in South Africa. That's a negative stress because we need to make sure that car insurance, when you have a car, you make sure that you have a car insurance, checker, security. Some go beyond to a level of buying guns to protect themselves. It's a negative stress because it's beyond our control. It's a threat. When you think about walking at night, you think of criminals. It's a negative stress. It's beyond our control. Negative stress, again, could be your doctor telling you that you have a month to live. It's a negative because it's beyond your control. So negative stress, most are things that are beyond your control, but positive stress are things that motivates you. Studying for exam is something that motivates you. Waking up in the morning to go to work to make sure that you buy your car, you buy your house, is a positive stress because it motivates you. They tell you that if you get 10 clients, you'll get a incentives, you'll get rewards. And indeed, you do get 10 clients per day through sales. They give you that commission that I told you about. They give you the rewards. That's a positive stress because it makes you to feel good. So in short, negative stress is what unpleasant feeling, undesirable feeling, unpleasant feeling, whereas positive stress are pleasant feelings, things that motivate you. Moving to perception. Perception, stress is based on how we see things, our perceptions in life. Stress is based on the perceptions in life, how you see the world, how you see life, how you see others. That is perception. Again, our perception differ, our viewpoints differ, our ideas differ, our views differ. How we have experienced life differs. So perception is nearly similar to no universal meaning because our perceptions differ regarding life. Those are the 4 assumptions of stress according to consensual model of stress. Then moving to 5 phases by Jordan. 5 phases by Jordan of stress. We have number 1, encountering potential stress, performing primary appraisal, experiencing stress, performing secondary appraisal, and applying common coping strategies. The first by Jordan, they are nearly similar with the 3 phases by Jensen's the case theory, Jens Snelly. That is alarming mobilization phase, resistance phase, and exhaustion phase. They are nearly similar with these phases by Jordan. They say first stage, encountering potential stress. This is where you see something, then you experience stress. You encounter, you become aware of the stress. 2, performing primary appraisal. You're trying to come up with what? Interpretation of whether this is danger or not danger. This is a positive stress or not a positive stress. First, you encounter stressor, something that triggers your mind, triggers your body. Performing primary appraisal, you're determining whether this is negative or positive. This is danger or not danger. Experiencing stress. Once you've interpreted here, this is where you experience stress. If you see it as danger, obvious what is happening in your body becomes tense. High rate of stress. Your blood pressure goes high. You sweat. Your heart rate is high because you see danger. It affects you internally. If it does not affect you, you see it as a positive stress, meaning your level of anxiety will be moderate, you'll be able to cope. So it depends on how you have interpreted the emotion and how you experience it. Your experience of emotion will depend on how you interpret your stress here. Then performing secondary appraisal. Now that you have identified this form of stress as danger, here you come up with strategies on how to save yourself, how to manage your stressor. You come up with solutions, strategies here. If it's an exam that is stressing you, we'll come up with solution. New lecture, a new timetable, perhaps getting a leave from work, that would be primary appraisal. Running away, if you see a danger, fight back, those are possible solutions here. 5th, you apply your strategies. The strategies that you've came up with underperforming, you apply it here. You see, it's a phase. Yes, they say there's a pattern on how people experience stress. First, you encounter, you interpret the situation. The way you have interpreted the situation, it will depend how you experience that stress. Is it danger or not danger? How you feel. You come up with a solution and you apply the strategies here. So this is just a summary that you can express. Stress is physical and emotional. By physical, how you experience it in your body. How you experience it. Remember, firstly is emotional. Emotional has to do again with your interpretation, how anxiety that you're experiencing. But physically, how does your body react? Is the sweating, the frowning, the running away part, the experience of trauma in your hands. You feel your hands that are numb, you're experiencing backpack in your necks, heart problems, that's your physical part. So this is the relationship between psycho, which is the mind, emotional, physiological, what happens in your body when you experience stress. It's just a summary of everything that we have been discussing. Okay, let's move to the second one, that is motivation. Motivation is almost equal as what? Almost equal as stress. Let's go to motivation. Our second topic, motivation. This is a revision purpose. While I'm presenting, go through your notes and check what questions, what is that I need to know. Let's move to the second one, motivation. Where is motivation? Here's motivation. Motivation is defined as a process that initiates, guides, maintains goal-oriented directed behavior. That is motivation. Remember, motivation is from within. They say motivation refers to all mental activities that compel organism into action. Basically, motivation is what causes us to act, whether it's simply as going to the toilet or eating because of hunger or enrolling for your qualification. Motivation is defined as a process that initiates. So motivation mostly is from within. You want to pass this module, most motivation from within. And motivation will do what? Will influences, will push you to do something, push you to wake up in the morning and attend one class, motivate you to open your study material and study on a daily basis because you have a goal. Your goal in mind is to pass the module, pass the qualification, and become a better person. That is motivation. They say motivation is what drives your attention to something. Motivation is defined as the process that initiates, waking up in the morning, I want to attend the class. Guys, what I can do to make sure that I pass the module, maintain goal-directed behavior. So your motivation will guide your behavior towards doing something, whether something bad or something good. That is motivation. It comes from within. It's a drive from within. Motivation refers to all mental activities. Motivation refers to all mental activities that compel the organism into action. So motivation does not only come from external in terms of what you see, does not come only from internal in terms of what is it that you want to achieve. They say all mental activities that compel organism to act. They make a simple thing like you're walking on the street, people are confronting you, you'll be motivated to do what? To avoid the situation, either by running away, change the location, screaming, or fighting back. That is motivation. It's either you fight, run away, or you deal with the situation. That is motivation. They compel the organism into action. You are driving, while you're driving, you can notice that the person in front of you is not driving well. You decide to lower down the speed until the person disappears from you. Either you overtake him or her, or you change the route, you change the lane. That is motivation on its own. They say it refers to all mental activities that compel the organism into action. So when you come across question, you need to multiple choice question exam. You relax, you listen to the question clearly. What does the question want? Then you apply. You read slowly, you apply. They made an example here. They said basically motivation is what causes us to act. Whether it's simple as going to the toilet or eating, that is motivation. When there's a need for you to go to the toilet, motivation will tell you to go up and go to the toilet. When there's a need to eat, motivation will tell you to go and make yourself food. That is motivation. When you want to enroll the qualification, motivation will simply say, make sure that you study. Moving on, motivation is divided into two aspects: the nature of motivated behavior and the process of motivated behavior. The nature of motivated behavior is motivation relates to other concepts in psychology, such as emotion, consciousness, and the free will. Motivation relates to other aspects of psychology, that is motion. Stress and motivation, they relate. Motivation and feeling, they relate, because what motivates you comes from internally. When it's something good, meaning you'll feel good. When you can't achieve it, you'll feel bad. So motivation has to do with emotions. Consciousness. You are mostly you are motivated by things that you are conscious. Studying is something that is conscious because you know why you're studying. You are driving on a certain speed, you are conscious about the speed because you are motivated to get somewhere by this time. They say it's a free will. You choose whether to do it or not. Motivation is based on your choices that you make. If you decide not to write an exam, that's you. You are motivated not to write an exam. If you are studying or not studying is your choice. Influenced by what? Your motivation, your goals. That is the nature of motivation. Then the process of motivated behavior, they say to you, motivated behavior consists of a sequence of related action that are initiated, guided by a combination of instinct, drive, rational conception. The process of motivated behavior is either initiated, is guided internally, instinctively, or rationally. What they're trying to say is that there are forms of motivation that are influenced by your instinct. The instinct, mostly they are internally, something that you are born with. For you to going to the toilet, you eating, the need for sex, are things that are instinctively. They are driven, you are born with it, those needs. Then they are rational concepts. However, you need to think. You apply your thinking. We are not like animals. When you're hungry, you just eat anything that is placed in front of you. When the animal is hungry, you bring steak, the animal will eat steak. You bring dogma, you eat dogma. Because they don't have a choice compared to humans. Humans, when you're hungry, you decide what to eat, when to eat, what to eat. Animals differ because of their instinctual nature. So in motivation, human, you are rational, you choose. Let's break it down. The nature of motivated behavior, we are breaking it down. Dimensions of motivation. Other dimensions, we have psychoanalytical theory, which is unconscious nature. It says people are motivated unconsciously to achieve certain things. It's unconscious. It's natural, in short. The example that I've been making, a need to go to a toilet is something that is unconscious. You can't control it. When there's a need to pee, you don't tell yourself that by this time I need to pee, by this time I need to poo. At times they happen, mostly they happen unconsciously, automatically. It's things that happen instant. Going to the toilet, things that happen instantly. You're unconscious, then you go and do it. Unconscious also means when I suddenly, we are driving on a street, then you experience what? A bump. maybe a pothole. The car moves to a different direction. That is unconscious. We're not expecting it. Something that happens suddenly, and you suddenly you experience a car crash. There are things that are unconscious, are beyond your control. You didn't see it. They say motivation is based on two aspects: conscious and unconscious. This is what we've been explaining. Because conscious is something that you do it intentionally. You do it intentionally. You initiate change by waking up and study. You do it purposefully, consciously, because you want to achieve something. Unconsciously, things that are beyond your control. They have to happen. It's natural. If you experience headache, you need to take a tablet or drink enough water or consult a doctor, because they are unconscious. They happen suddenly. You can't control them. If I pinch you, you jump. It's unconscious. It's a reflexive action. If the weather changes, it becomes freezing, like today, these days, it's something that is beyond your control. Your body will react differently. You feel the freeziness, you feel chilly, then you take a jersey. I think that are unconscious. However, from unconscious, they move to conscious. Intrinsic and extrinsic. Yeah, motivation that is intrinsic, motivation that is extrinsic. Intrinsic motivation, things that from within you, things that brings pleasure internally. Like a passion, you are passionate about something, meaning it's intrinsic. One would say, I love working with people, they give me pleasure. That is intrinsic. I love helping people because they give me pleasure. Mostly it's something that makes you to feel good internally. You are motivated to do things because they give you pleasure internally. Then there's intrinsic behavior, intrinsic nature of motivation. Intrinsic nature of motivation, whatever that you do, you expect what? Tangible, physical results. You expect material. They tell you in the workplace that if you do 1, 2, 3, you'll get more incentive, you get promotion, you get rewards. And you do it, you get those rewards. That is the meaning you are motivated by material things. You are motivated by external things, things that are tangible compared to the inside. Then the sources of motivation. The sources, where does motivation stems from? The start of motivation, the key of motivation. They say the sources, where does it start? There are biological patterns of behavior. If you could notice, the chapter, the units keep on repeating themselves. It's just that they're using what? Different words. They phrase them differently, but it's a repetition now and again. From stress to motivation, when they say biological patterns of behavior, it's something that is within you. They are biological needs. The internal needs. Like I've said, the need to go to a toilet is biological. You need a sense of gratification. When you are thirsty, you need water. It's biological. You can't control it. When you experience pain in your body, you wake up today experiencing stomach cramps. It's something from within. It's biological pattern. You need to satisfy it. Satisfy it how? You drink water, you eat food, you get that medication that will make you to feel better. That is biological patterns of behavior. Clear is biological pattern. You need to satisfy certain things in your body. Then there's body homeostasis. Body homeostasis has to do mostly with the liquid in your body. Is gratification. There's a time where your body will need certain things, and you need to satisfy those things. We call them body homeostasis. When you are thirsty, the body will tell your mind that I'm thirsty, I need water. You drink water, your body comes to normal again. You are drunk, your body, your mind feels different. You are not drunk, your mind feels different. That is body homeostasis. That your body now and again will move from up, low, normal, abnormal. So your body does not need certain things to function. Your body needs certain things to function. When you are ill, your body acts differently. Your body homeostasis acts differently. Until perhaps you go to a doctor, the doctor gives you some recommendation, take these tablets, take this medication. As soon as you drink that medication, you become better. So your body, meaning, is in a normal homeostasis. Homeostasis is the situations in your body. Your body now and again it reacts differently to different things. The need for water, you are hungry, eat, you become full, meaning there's satisfaction. You are craving for something, satisfaction. And a typical example would be people who have diabetes. They have certain food that they need to eat. Their insulin, they feel when to eat sugar, when not to eat sugar, meaning their body homeostasis will be not inconsistent, won't be consistent. They feel like this in this instance, they eat certain food, then now they feel better. That is body homeostasis. The body now and again will need certain things in order to function. You need water to function, you need food to function. When you put certain things in your mouth, when you eat certain things, the body changes, feels different. If you eat too much spicy food, peri, your body reacts differently. Maybe you are forced to drink water in order to bring the body into equilibrium, balance, or you are forced to take certain medication in order for the body to come back to normal states. You have flu, they say eat ginger. You eat ginger, you're no longer in flu. That is body homeostasis. It's moved from now and again, it changes. It's normal. Optimal arousal, your level of coping, like same applies to stress. There's a normal way, a moderate level of arousal, an abnormal way of arousal. That is motivation. You are motivated internally and externally. You are motivated to study, wake up each and every morning, you study. It's a different feeling. When you don't study, it's a different feeling. When you fail exams, it's a different feeling. When you are coping currently, it's a different feeling. When you uncope, you are tired, it's a different feeling. That's how the body functions. Mood swings are based on optimal level. Now you're feeling like this, a certain moment you're feeling like this, it changes. Then you have the last one, which is cognitive. The cognitive aspect of it. They say sources of motivation are cognitive. Cognitive has to do with thinking and reasoning. For instance, let's say you're hungry now. You're hungry, you apply your thinking into it. You don't just eat anything. You think, I'm hungry, I'm craving for noodles. I need a full meal. Or I need to go out and buy food. I don't feel like cooking. That is cognitive aspect. There's the source of motivation tells you that I'm hungry, I need to eat. But you're eating, you don't eat anything that's in front of you. You think about it. That is cognitive. They say you think about what you want to do. You want to buy a car, that's a motivation. You want to buy a car, but not just any car. I need a specific car. Then you think, I need a small car, or I need a SUV, I need a 4x4. Why you are motivated? Because perhaps I'm staying in rural areas. I need a big car so that I won't be stressed about tires. moving from one place to the next. I need a big car, you buy a 4x4, meaning you have apply your thinking and reasoning cognitively. You want to study, which course do you want to study? What is it that you want to become? That's your thinking. You don't just want to study, you won't register for any qualification. You think about it, you reason. I need something that will fulfill my heart. I need something that I won't struggle in getting a job. That is cognitive. So meaning motivation, you think about it. So last one under motivation. Motivation, the process of motivated behavior starts somewhere and it ends somewhere. That the hierarchy of needs in socio-political context. You have Abraham Maslow, we have Davis. Abraham Maslow says, for you to achieve your ultimate goal, you need to satisfy certain needs. Physiological needs, safety needs, need for love and belonging, need for esteem, need for self-actualization. Let's start with a need for physiological needs. Maslow says, for you to achieve your ultimate goal, you need basic needs. Basic needs is water, you need food. Without those, you cannot achieve. For instance, you are attending a class right now. You'll be writing your exams. You need to eat healthy. You need enough intake of what? Oxygen. Enough intake of water so that your body will relax. You need positive things in your body, healthy eating, because your ultimate goal is to pass the exam. Safety needs. Currently, you're experiencing load shedding. Now and again, you're experiencing load shedding. You need to choose right places where you study, where you write your exams. Now and again, you check load shedding schedule. That is safety and security on its own. You need to be secure mentally. Again, safety would be, I need a secure place to do my exam. You cannot do your exam at the park. You might be robbed. It's difficult to do your exam in a nearby mall. Some people decide, no, I'll do by the nearby mall because there's internet connection. But is there any security? You might be robbed. Besides being robbed, security will be, now and again, you might find people knocking on your window to ask for money. Security may come, they say, you've been standing here, sitting here for long. What's happening? That time you're in the middle of exam. And the exams you are using what? Invigilator app. Invigilator app needs quiet space. So that is secure and security, the physical setting. You need to consider appropriate physical setting for your module, for your exams. Then you have the need for love and need for belonging. Need for love and need for belonging. Regardless of what you have in life, you need people. You need affectionate. You need intimacy. Those things are good for your health. If not, you experience challenge. For instance, you might find that you're studying alone. No support from UNISA, no support from the friends. So UNISA is doing as much as they can to support you. They provide you a tutor by the name of Mr. Swan in order to feel a sense of belonging, that you are not alone. By giving this platform again, you see fellow students. When they ask questions, they are not asking questions only for themselves. They're asking questions so that you can benefit as well. You might find that the question that is asked by Gabetri, the question is that can benefit Sarah. That is need for love, need for belonging. It's a sense of belonging. We make sure that every Saturday we give you a class. Now and again, I'll ask questions. Do you understand? What is it that you can add? Elaborate. I want to feel a sense of belonging. Same applies to sales one. You need to feel a sense of belonging. If you keep quiet, then there's a lack of sense of belonging. So regardless of what you have, you need love, sense of belonging. Self-esteem as well. Self-esteem is important. Without self-esteem, it's difficult to achieve your goal. You wake up each and every morning to study. You buy your textbook, you go online, you interact with other people, which again influence what? Your self-esteem. You write your assignments, your lecture gives you feedback, you are happy, meaning your self-esteem has been boosted. If you fail the assessment, it kills your self-esteem because you ask yourself, where am I doing wrong? Self-esteem, then is the need for self-actualization. Self-actualization is whereby you achieve your goals, whether it's completing your qualification or passing your module. Again, you can apply this in a different way. Abraham Maslow can be applied in different aspects. You'll find Abraham Maslow under social work, psychology, economics, those are doing engineering. It's one of the theory that you can apply in different aspects of life. Let's come up with another example first before we move to Davis. Example that I like to present to my students is, let's assume that in this class we decide to go for camping. You know, camping is outdoors. It's an outdoor setting. What you need to consider is the place to go. You decide, no, we would like to go perhaps to Mpumalanga. We decide as a team, as fellow students, no, we are going to Mpumalanga. So let's go to Mpumalanga. Which place do you need to go to in Mpumalanga? You are not sure. What you need to consider first is physiological needs. We need to consider the physiological needs. That will be in that campsite. Where are we going to get water? To carry our own water, or water will be provided? Are there any rivers? Yes, there is a river. Is it safe? Is that water suitable to drink? Is it safe to drink that water? That's what to think about. Is there any food? Are we going to hunt or bring our own food? How are we going to cook the food? Those are physical needs to make sure that you survive. Physical needs, water, food. That is number one. Let's say you check the location. Yes, there is water, or we can bring ours. There is enough food. You can hunt at times. We'll just cook ours. We'll bring 1, 2, 3. The physical needs. We are done with the physiological needs. We move to safety needs. Safety needs is, what type of animals are there? Are there any snakes, bears, elephants, lions? I don't want to see myself next to the lion. If there are lions, in what form of houses are we sleeping? What form of setting are we arranging for us to be safe? Are the rangers there who will help us just in case there's a challenge? That is safety needs, safety and security needs. How are we going to sleep? On trees? Are providing our own beds? Is the campsite does the campsite has houses, dormitories perhaps? Then we are fine with that. We have checked the safety and security. Need for love and belonging. Remember, campsite, you are going to a team. What games are we going to play in order to make sure that we don't get bored? We feel love, we feel a sense of belonging. How are we going to cook? How are we going to arrange ourselves for cooking to feel a sense of belonging and love? Which games are we going to play? That's what you need to consider. Need for self-esteem. Remember, campsite, you must spend a week or 2 weeks. If you get bored, that will kill your self-esteem. If you don't feel accepted, that will kill your self-esteem. So we need to try by all means to boost our self-esteem. Perhaps you went to campsite just to deal with your fears. Campsite, we have activities. There'll be spiders there. We're playing games, adventurous games. Perhaps you fear you have a water phobia. You need to deal with it in the campsite. You fear climbing. You fear certain games. That's a goal of going to a campsite to deal with your phobias, and you automatically your esteem will be boosted. As soon as you're done achieving all those things, meaning you're in a level now, you have reached a level where you can say, I've achieved self-actualization. I've self-fulfilled what I needed to do. That is the need for love. When you look at it in a campsite. Then there's Davis. Davis says, yes, I agree with Abraham Maslow, the theory of Abraham Maslow, but I think the theory can be changed, or the theory lacks certain aspects. According to Davis says, yes, you are correct by physical needs. You are correct by social affective needs. You are correct by self-esteem. However, for us to achieve these needs, we need certain things. We cannot wake up and achieve those needs. Remember, Maslow says, for us to achieve safety needs, firstly, we need physiological needs. For us to achieve love and belonging needs, we need safety needs. For us to achieve self-actualization, we must be self-confident. That's according to Maslow. In order for us to achieve the second need, we must first achieve the first need. The needs go what? The needs goes logically from one step to the next. That is Maslow. These needs should be step by step. However, David say no. These needs can be achieved in any way. Maslow say, what if the person does not get a chance to achieve physical needs? Does that mean the person won't be able to achieve self-actualization? That is Maslow. That is Davis. Davis says people differ. You might find that someone's physical needs are not the same. Someone's physical needs are not the same. They made an example by a person, let's assume that a person who's a car guide, normally we give them 2 rands, 5 rands, 10 rands to live. The question by Davis is that, would that money satisfy the person self-actualization needs? Will that money carry that person to succeed in life? Or is that money just for food? That is Davis. Davis says certain income will only help you just to put food on the table, not beyond that. Certain income won't help you to buy a car. Certain income won't help you to buy a well-designed shelter. Some people live in the boxes. Some people live under the bridge. The only means to survival is to eat. When they get that 5 rand, 20 rands a day is fine. They go and buy bread, go back to the bridge. That is Davis. Davis says not all the needs will lead to self-actualization. Not all the need will put the self-esteem, because our situations differ. People need power. People need certain control to achieve certain things because we differ. Some people only focus on what? Physical needs as the means of survival. Some people might have their physical needs. The only need that they need is social affective needs. They have everything, but they lack these needs. That doesn't mean that they won't reach a self-actualization. You might find in some situation, remember, as young as you can be, your goal will be to normally to buy a car, have a house, have a family. In certain situations, you'll have your car, you'll have your money, you'll have a house, only to realize that you can't give back. So David's question is, does that mean a person is not self-actualized? Certain things are beyond people's control. our ultimate goal differs. What you achieve differs, is not the same. That is Davis. Some people may need self-esteem in order to achieve everything. You have your physical, social, affective. However, you need self-esteem to achieve certain things, meaning that does not go logically. You might first need self-esteem in order to achieve your physical needs. Let's say your talent is to dance and sing. You need self-esteem to stand in front of people. Without self-esteem, you cannot achieve your basic needs. Basic needs, going out to a mall and sing, you'll get money. Money that will be used as your income. But if you don't have a self-esteem, you cannot achieve physical needs. That is Davis, and says all his needs, they don't go logically. It depends on your current needs, and it depends on the power that you have to do certain things. That is Davis. Maslow said the needs need to follow logically from one need to the next. Davis says no, needs cannot be all logical. It depends on your situation. So, done for now regarding motivation. Hope that you understood motivation. Hope that you remember the questioning. Like I've said, most of the questions might come from, most of the questions come from stress motivation, because it's a core of psychology as a field of study. They form a core part of psychology as a field of study. You want to emphasize on them. I can see on the charts there are no questions yet. Before I move on to the last unit for today, any questions that you'd like to share? Any operations? Multiple choice questions are a bit tricky. You need to study in detail. You need to know the definitions. Definition of stress, definition of motivation. If you fail to understand the definition, it's difficult for you to answer certain questions. You need to know theories as well. Under stress, we mentioned different theories. We mentioned theories like Stanley, Hannes, and Jordan. You need to know each and every theory. This theory deals with this theory deals with this. Because that's how you ask question. You base the question on definition and the purpose. You base the questioning on the theorists, the different theorists. And you need to relax when you study exam. You need to relax. How can you prepare for exam? You do your assignments. The first stage of exam preparation is to do your assignments. By now, they've given you feedback for assignments. You redo your assignments. You redo them as if you are doing them for the first time. You ask yourself the question. You look at the options. Under the options, make sure that you criticize each and every option. Don't go rushing to answer a question. Let's say they ask you a question, you know the answer. That answer is number 3. You highlight it, whether your answer is right or wrong. You look at the other options as well, the wrong options. You try to criticize them. Why are they wrong? Why are they right? Why are they saying this is a partially correct? You look at those, because questions now and again, they're repeated, but they use different English, different words. You might find the questions that they've been asking your assignments, they repeat them in the exam. However, the option now differs. They bring back the four possible answers, but the question differs. You look at the question 1 in the multiple choice question, they bring the same options. However, the question on top differs. And when you do your multiple choice questions, make sure that even though only the correct answer is provided, that is question 3, you check question 4. Why question 4 is wrong? Why question 2? Why option 2 is wrong compared to 3? Why option 1 is wrong compared to option 4? Learn to criticize all the options. By criticizing all the options, you'll find that you study the whole chapter. You study 2 pages. You don't skip. You don't jump to just the correct answer. This is when you're revising for exams. Again, we are doing semester 2 now, currently semester 2. For exam preparation, the tutorial letter is both your question for semester 1 and question for semester 2. Also do questions for semester 1. The trick is when the lecturers, the examiners create content for 2022, they look at all the possible questions. They already know this is what we're focusing on this year. Then they create questions for both semester 1, questions for semester 2. That's meaning that is the core for 2022. Even the examination question will be based on those assignments. 50% of the questions will come from assignment questions, but they'll phrase them differently. So do both questions for assignment for semester 1, assignment for semester 2. You also do the self-evaluation. There's an assignment that they normally give you the lecture. I'm not sure what is assignment 2 or assignment 4. You do that for your examination papers, or it's assignment 90-something. Those are assignments, you don't need to submit them. You just do them for examination papers. It's for they give you papers fully for you to go through them, for you to familiarize them yourself with the 2022 possible questions. Don't take them for granted. So do your assignments, both semester 1 and semester 2, all of them. Then you thank me later. Okay, let's continue with the self. Once you're done with the self, then you feel free to go to focus on your exams. Let's check the self as our last topic for today. The self, same applies to stress and motivation. They're important units. Why? You go for counseling. You go for counseling session, for therapy session, or the clients come to you for therapy. They have problems that affects them emotionally, psychologically. When you apply the solution, you're facilitating change, you're asking the clients several questions, you need to consider the self of the person. Who are you? What motivates you? What's the foundation of self? You consider the person as unique, meaning that's a self. If the person comes to you and say, I'm struck, I keep on perhaps beating up my wife, I keep on beating up my husband, I have that aggressiveness. You don't only look at what the person says, you look at the self of the person. Who is the person really is? The self is influenced by, remember, the environment. The self is influenced by your upbringing. The self is influenced by the influences. You need to consider the self of the person. It's much easier for you to facilitate change to the person. You don't just say, beating up a person is wrong, you'll get arrested. Yes, to do that, however, you also dig the true self of the person. That will help you to check where does this person comes from. Remember, here you want to come up with a possible solution for the person, not the instant solution. The instant solution will be call the police, the person needs to be arrested. That is an instant solution. You might not solve the inner being of the person. So solve the inner being of the person, you look at the self of the person. So the self is made up of the concept of self, the dynamics of self, as well as the foundations of self. Let's study the concept of self. The concept of self, they say, self is the core of our being, continuous over time. Self is the core of our being, continuous over time. However, it is the totality of experience. Self is made up of the totality of the experience. You are born with the self. That is who you are. However, it's influenced by the environment. How you see yourself, how you change over time is influenced by your experiences, how you see yourself, the environment. Yes, they say to you, self is a core of being continuous over time. You develop over time, you discover new things about yourself over time. The more you meet new people, the more you experience challenges, the more you grow, yourself changes. Hence, they will tell you people that you have changed, meaning they can see that your self-concept is changing, whether it changes negatively or positively. Below, we have a stable self and changing self, and a double self. Stable self and changing self. A thin line between stable self and changing self, according to Erickson. Erickson suggests that the idea of identity describes the self as a stable self, which is influenced by the belief of your religion, what you believe in or not. As a Christian, you have your own values, your own belief system that you live by, meaning your marriage will be based on Christian values, Christianity values. Your way of upbringing is based on Christian values. I'm making an example. Your way of approach to life, they're based on what? Your belief system, your religion. Let's say if someone beats you up, you apply your religion in how to deal with it. There are those who believe in Nazareth, Shembe. The way of upbringing is based on their belief system. That is you. That is your stable self. You are who you are based on your belief system, your values. Your values mostly are influenced by your upbringing, your religion as well, your traditional values. That is the core self, which is stable most of the time. You can do anything, however, there's that person. We know that Mrs. One is like this due to their core beliefs, their stable self. Mostly are influenced by your upbringing and your religion. Then we have what? Erickson as a changing self. This is the changing self. Our self develop as we try to make the best of the situation in which we find ourselves. Here, our self develop, the more we experience new challenges, the more we see new people, our personality, our self differs. If you look at yourself, if you go back, high school days, university days, yourself before you had a child, yourself before you change the working environment, yourself before you change your physical sitting, your physical resident, you have changed over time. You're changing over time, influenced by what the situation is. You can't remain constant. Yes, there are things that may remain constant. That's your core self. The core self, like you are a shy person, that may not change. But the way you handle your shyness might change. You might be a shy person, but now and again, you will find yourself in a crowd, find yourself presenting in front of the group of people. That's the meaning that people change. You are changing self. You cannot remain the way you are. The more you experience new things, the more you meet new people, you change. That's a changing self. Rogers and Maslow, people with high level of self-actualization are open to new experiences, can function independently in changing. They are emphasizing changing here. They say, if you have goal, if you have ambition, chances are that you'll experience what? You'll encounter new experiences, you experience success, you experience self-actualization, you experience need for fulfillment, independency, because your changing self is influenced by circumstances. They say people who have high self-actualization, people who have ambition, they are most likely to experience new challenges. They are more likely to experience new experiences. They are more likely to be independent because they challenge life. They challenge life. Clear. Then there's a double self. The double self is They say, I am the self that has the mental picture of itself. That's number one. I am the self that has a mental picture of itself. You yourself as Kiabetsui, your name is Kiabetsui, that's who you are. There's a self, that how you see yourself, that's a mental picture. This is Kiabetsui, and how you see yourself as Kiabetsui, that is a mental picture. When I look at you, may perhaps approach you at the mall and tell you that you are beautiful, approach you perhaps and propose a relationship. In your mind, you assume that, not assume, oh yes, you assume or you tell yourself that the person came to me because I'm beautiful. The person came to me because of the way I look, because of the mental picture that you've put in yourself. You wake up in the morning, you bath, you dress nice. People are looking at you in the street. In your mind, you say, they're looking at what? The mental picture that I have about myself. I am the self that has a mental picture of itself. This is you. At times they say that is me and I. Myself and I. That is you, is the person you're thinking about yourself. That is the mental picture you have about yourself. That's a taboo self. I'm walking on the street. People smile at me. In my mind, I know they're smiling because I'm beautiful. I'm handsome. I look good. That's a mental. That's a mental representation I have about myself. Clear. Then there's I am real. I am the thoughts I have about myself. Make a mental picture. I am real. I am the thoughts I have about the mental, about myself. Let me read again. I am real. I am the thoughts I have about myself. Make a mental picture. Same applies to this one, the double self. You have a mental picture about yourself. You have the way of seeing yourself. That is a mental picture. I look like this. When you say to yourself, I feel like I'm fat. I feel ugly. I know these clothes won't fit me because I know my style. That is you and the mental picture that you normally see in the mirror. Clear. That's a double self. It's you and the mental picture about yourself, how you see yourself, how you expect people to see you. That is what? A mental picture about yourself. Then you have what? The dynamics. The dynamic of self, the complexity of self. This says the complexity of self. The complexity of self is based on self-insight versus self-deception. Self-insight versus self-deception. What I know about myself and what I do not know about myself. There are things that you know about yourself, and there are things that you don't know about yourself. For you to know about those things, normally people will tell you that you are like this. You are not like this. So we have a self-insight and a self-deception. Things that you know about yourself and things that you don't know about yourself. To know about those things, you'll be helped by you experiencing new things, going out, or being open to experience, challenging yourself. Then you'll know about the complexity of self, the things that you don't know about yourself. There's what, again, self-regard and self-disregard. Self-regard is the general feeling we have about ourselves. That's a self-regard, the general feeling we have about yourself. Then self-regard is low level of self-worth. There are things that you don't see yourself worth in doing. There are things that you don't believe about yourself. Low self-esteem, meaning you are disregarding yourself. You have self-identity versus self-alienation. Self-identity versus self-alienation. Identification of the self. Self-identity is identification of the self and with the self-knowledge of the self. How you see yourself, what you identify yourself with. The knowledge you have about yourself, that is self-identification, what you know about yourself. Then there's an opposite, self-alienation. Self-alienation is when you feel that you do not really know who you are. When you don't really know who you are, that is self-alienation. You are separated from the self because you don't know who you are. Then you have the autonomous self versus collected self. The autonomous self, they say, is whereby you see oneself as an individual entity. You see yourself as an individual entity. I possess these skills. I am myself because of these things. This is how I look. This is how I feel. That is your self-identity. How you see yourself, how to portray yourself, the characteristics that you associate yourself with, compared to the collective. The collective sees the self as in relation to others. See yourself as in relation to others. That's a collective self. That could be I am because of others. I am because of others. That is associating yourself with the family, the friends that you have. You want to go out, you feel like I can do certain things when I have these people, meaning you are a collective. It's a collective self, a collective effort. I cannot do these things if someone is not available. I need to go to watch movies, but I cannot go alone. I need my partner. I need these people. That's a collective effort. You see yourself in relation with others. I need to achieve certain things in relation to my friends. My friends have 1, 2, 3. I need to make sure in myself that I move out. I have my own house, I have my own car, meaning you see yourself in relation to others, not only yourself. Remember, you're not living in isolation. It is difficult not to compare yourself to others. Yes, psychology say, or when they advise, say, don't compare to yourself with others. Run your race. However, now and again, you find situation whereby you do compete, not compete. You need to compare yourself with others. It's natural. Those are the dynamics. They say the complexity. Yes, they say complexity of self, because there are things that you cannot run away from. Here they say the picture of self. The dynamics of self is the picture of self. A picture of self is due to change due to circumstances. Last one, the foundation of self. Let's exploring ways in which we describe ourselves. Exploring ways in which we describe ourselves. We describe ourselves towards the process of reflection, self-reflection. Now and again, you take a pen and paper, you reflect, even though you don't take a pen and paper, but you live by reflection. You're going back to adults, going back to what have I done to deserve this. When you experience breakup, you reconnect with yourself. What happened? What might happen? What is it that I need to change in future? When you lose a job, you reflect. What to from now? Did I choose the right career? What else can I do to change my circumstances? It's normal. That is the foundation of self. The foundation of self comes from self-reflection. The foundation of self comes from the biological foundation of self. The biological foundation of self is the genetics, your heredity. There are things that you share with your parents, your family. It's genetical, things that you cannot change. It's biological. The biological foundation. You look, you trace back at your family, your parents. Like I said, you're not living in isolation. The way you behave might be the way your parents behave, whether negative or positive. It's a biological pattern. It's due to heredity and your genes. You can study this further using your study units. You say, I refer to the theory. There are theories under biological, there are theories under linguistic. Then they say the foundation of self is conscious. Yes, the self is in relation to consciousness. The foundation of self is conscious. How do you see yourself? How the concept of self is based on what? Consciousness. because you know you are aware of yourself. It's awareness. The self in relation to consciousness, that is awareness. I go to an interview, they say, tell us about yourself. Then I start explaining, describing myself. It's true to consciousness. It's things that I'm aware of. The self is the foundation of consciousness. The things that I'm aware of, I've learned. Either people have told you or you've discovered them. The linguistic foundation of self. The linguistic foundation of self. For you to portray your self-concept, you need what? Without language, you are nothing. Without words, you are nothing. Without expression, you are nothing. The linguistic foundation of self stems from the way we use certain words, the way we use language. For instance, when you are young, you are a kid, and people tell you that you are stupid, tell that you are ugly. That those words may affect the whole life, your whole life. Just those words may affect you, who you are, because I've been told that you're stupid. You are told that you're ugly. Even when you walk in front of people, people are laughing. You assume that they're laughing at you because they're ugly. They're laughing at you because they're stupid. So the words have a way of affecting your self-concept. The words have a way of encouraging you, your self-concept. Yes, they say the linguistic foundation of the self is stemmed from the words, the expression, how you see yourself. You see yourself through language. We portray who you are through the use of linguistic, through the use of language. Without language, it's difficult to see things, it's difficult to understand things. So the ways linguistic language play an important role in portraying who we are. I'm done for today. The question is, in what unit is the self? I don't see the self concept. Okay. Remember, there's what is called, remember, there's what we call recommended chapters and prescribed chapters. What you need to study for and what you need to read. There's reading and studying. Normally the lecturer will say, you need to study these topics in order to pass the exam. Means that the content that you need to focus on for you to pass the exam is 1, 2, 3. There are units that they say, in order for you to pass, in order for you to understand psychology, in order to understand the subject, you must focus on these chapters. So self is one of the chapters that is recommended for you to know. It's a recommendation that you need to know the self in order to master the module. So when you ask, you don't see the self. So self is part of the unit that is recommended that you need to teach students about the self in order to understand PYC 1502. You might find that they won't be featured in the exam, but it will help you to study the overall module. For you to understand the overall module, you need to know about yourself. When you talk about the stress has to do with yourself because we're different. The way you approach stress might be influenced by yourself, your personality. You see? In order to understand motivation, you need to know about yourself, your personality. Clear. Remember psychology, not only you are studying psychology to pass the subject, but you're studying psychology as well to deal with yourself. Before you deal with clients, you need to deal with yourself. Before you open your session, you need to deal with yourself. So self is just a general topic that you need to know in order to know about yourself as a future psychologist, in order to master the content of your exam. Because now and again, there's a self. You need to relate yourself with the module. So the question is, where do you find the recommended reading? The recommended reading, if it's not included in, if it is not included in your study unit, then don't stress about it. Remember, you have a recommended book. You when you open your tutorial letter, not the tutorial, yes, when you open your tutorial letter 101, there's a recommended reading. It's not a must to go through it. It's recommended. You'll find under tutorial letter 101. Then there's a must reading. Those you need. Unit 1, Unit 2. I'm not sure until you, what you need. That is a must for you to go through it. However, when you need a recommended reading, you go through the recommended book. You will find under tutorial letter 101 under study material and the prescribed book. But now that you're studying towards an exam, you want to pass an exam, you just focus on what your lecturer has given you. Clear. You just focus on what the lecturer has given you. Thanks very much, guys. It was a fruitful session. Make sure that you go through your assignments, all your assignments, go through all your assignments, semester 1 and semester 2, revise them, redo them. And if you need the slides, the presentation that I've done before, you might find that it's your first time attending the class today. You just go to UNISA region, UNISA Gauteng region, you'll find all the slides from day 1, the one that I'm presenting, and download them and go through them. So it's UNISA Gauteng region YouTube. Go to YouTube, then you search UNISA Gauteng region, then you'll find all the slides. You'll see the modules, different slides, any modules that you want to go through. Thanks very much, guys. It was nice having you attending the session with you. All the best on your exam. Thanks very much.